Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of StarSound Speaks. This is your host, Irlianna of StarSound Astrology. So today's episode is about Venus retrograde. Venus is going to be, she's already been in her shadow since middle of last month. So the actual retrograde is going to happen tomorrow. And so at Eastern Standard Time, 5:35 a.m. on Sunday, December 19th. Now, this is a big, big deal for several reasons. First of all, just in general, Venus only retrogrades every 18 months. It's not like Mercury, which does it 3, sometimes 4 times a year. And so we really pay attention to this transit. And furthermore, why it's extra important this year and really all of next year, for the next year and a half to be precise, why do we need to pay attention to Venus? Well, and I'll get more deeply into this in my 2022 forecast, but Venus is the, we'll say the goddess of the North Node. The North Nodes are now in Taurus. The North Node is now in Taurus. The South Node is in Scorpio. So Venus and Mars are the polarities and the archetypes that we will be dealing with. We've already started dealing with for the next year and a half. So with the North being the Lord of the North Node eclipse, so that, of course, huge beginnings and endings with everything Venus related. What are we worth? Our self-esteem, our values, our personal possessions, our money in the bank, our agreements, our loyalty. Who are we loyal to? What are we loyal to? These are all going to be up for reprogramming and questioning and new discoveries about ourselves and our, how we see ourselves, how we connect with each other, how do we not connect with each other. So these themes are really, really big for the next year and a half. We also have to remember Uranus has been in Venus's Airbnb, for, as Achuta likes to say, for the last year and a half. No, not year and a half, sorry. I meant to say since, where did I get that from? May of 2018, Uranus entered the Airbnb of Venus. So Uranus, the planet of chaos, catastrophe, sudden change, innovation, enlightenment in Venus's sign of Taurus, right? So that's another Venus ruled sign. So, there's and the eclipses coming up in 2022 and 2023 are going to be aligned very closely, especially that April and October eclipses, very aligned with Uranus. So a lot of sudden change, a lot of innovation that is here, presenting itself. And so, that is really why we really want to pay attention and watch and be really mindful for the next 6 weeks, especially during this retrograde. It'll start on the 19th and it'll end on January 29th. So this is a time where we really want to pay attention to what comes up in our lives regarding relationships and money and the archetypes that Venus represents: harmony, love, marriage. It's the marriage planet, right? So we are revisiting, right? Retrograde, we're stepping back and we're going to that mountaintop where we're kind of away from the world. And, Venus will move in the same direction as the sun. So it's almost like we're getting like our higher selves are talking to us. It's that more pure connection away from the dross of the material world. So we get to discover things about ourselves. And so it's a really powerful, dynamic transit. Lord of the eclipse, Uranus in the Venus ruled Taurus. And also, of course, as you probably know by now, this particular signature of Venus retrograde is with Pluto is conjunct Venus. So there's talk about a deep dive into the underworld, the shadow side of people in power, authorities, government structure. All of this is on the mundane level is coming up. Venus conjuncted Pluto exactly on December 11th, just about a week ago. And I've heard from many of you, how intense that was and is, and a lot of heavy duty stuff coming up. And it will again, it'll step back and hit Pluto again. It's 3 passes. it'll be retrograde right on that Hades, Lord of the Underworld, Pluto on December 29th. And then it will conjunct Pluto one more time on March 3rd. So we are really not out of the woods with this analysis, with this deep download and discovery for until early March, so it's profound and deep, needless to say. So the other thing I want to say is of course, because it goes retrograde, it will come into what we call cazimi, that magical window with the sun, where it has its private audience with the queen, I'm going to say this time, right? That's going to take place on Saturday, January 8th. So definitely you'll be feeling it. If you don't write it in your calendar, you're definitely going to feel it. But Venus is in the underworld, has that exact conjunction within 15 minutes of arc. So that's going to be Saturday, January 8th, Eastern Standard Time. That'll be 3:59 p.m. And it will it'll start that process several hours. It's about 7, almost 8 hours of this magical window. It'll be exact degree and minute from 7:44 to 7:53 p.m. on Saturday, January 8th. And then it will move out of that arc 11:40 p.m. So that's a really rich, powerful time to really meditate, pray, set intentions, connect. This is definitely going to give us an opportunity to connect with loved ones from the past. And in conjunction with Pluto, we might get visits from our ancestors. I know I already have. My dad's birthday, my late dad's birthday was the other day, and the day before his birthday, I could feel him around me. And I started to cry. That's how I connect when I know that somebody's there. It's like somebody told me when my mom died, she's like, "Oh, you have the gift of tears." I'm like, I never heard of that. But she said, yeah, that's that. But all I know is that's how I know when I just start to get teary and emotional, my heart opens and I could just feel them. It's all about love. So he came around, and it was really very profound when that happened. And I do feel him, I feel him with me. I feel my parents. So you might be feeling connections, or may have already started with the underworld, right? From people from other dimensions, our ancestors who passed over. Certainly this Venus archetype with the conjunction with Pluto is going to bring us a lot of, not just the loyalties, but toxic agreements and toxic fidelity, where we have been shallow and not faithful to ourselves, to others. These are deep topics. I would say too, with Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, it's like maybe, and Venus's journey this time might involve family karma and relationship agreements with families that might have been unseen, right? Like secret agreements, things that we didn't realize were operating, or that come to the surface and get revealed during this time. It's a very reflective time, and when Venus goes through that cazimi with the sun, on January 8th, it's interesting because then a week later, Pluto is going to have its private audience with the sun. So it'll go through its cazimi on January 16th, and then there'll be a full moon the next day. So as I've shared earlier, month of January is very dynamic. These next few months, very dynamic. We could see a lot of government restructuring. There could be women in leadership, that whether it's, I know there's been what happened in the news, Chris Noth and that other guy that was from a foreign country that had all these rape cases, obviously, right? Venus conjunct Pluto, all these secret sexual harassment and sexual assault, cases coming up, not a surprise. So this deep, dark underbelly of power. And so we will feel this very strongly. These themes are going to be playing out over the next couple of months. I think too, when Venus gets into that conjunction with the sun, in that cazimi, that magical moment, it's almost like the sun it's like, remember how I talk about it as like the private audience in the palace, so it's like Venus is saying, Venus is receiving this deep download from the divine, and the divine is saying, hey, you know, remember who you are. You know, you're a powerful goddess. You know, if you've been feeling, you know, the self-esteem issues coming up, or, you know, I don't know where this is coming from, deeply buried, you know, maybe there was trauma or something, or in your background, regarding your self-worth. Or just if you're a woman, being a woman, and everything that has been, you know, the pain body of women, and on a mundane level, it's going to be these are big topics that we're going to be revisiting. And yes, it can be painful. So there are many remedies, you know, mantra, meditation. I'm thinking of EFT tapping, you know, when you go and you tap on meridian points, and these are very powerful modalities for healing trauma and things that even have been buried for decades. You know, I remember reading that if you have had something, maybe it's PTSD from, you know, the Vietnam War. I mean, it didn't matter that it took place 50 years ago. You can still release these neural pathways, these the samskaras, as they call it in yoga, which are like knots. They're like etheric knots in our being and in our consciousness, and we can undo them and release them, right? The toxicity of trauma. And once we do that, there is reprogramming available. So yeah, Pluto is scary in the beginning, right? It breaks down everything that's not useful and sustainable and healthy. And then from that, it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Then new growth can occur. And the growth that is there is good, sustainable, long-term growth, right? It's that breakdown of Pluto and Capricorn is, if nothing, it's been about the breakdown of society, where we're purging ourselves of old materialistic, you know, this greedy, power hungry, conquering energy, and like reimagining ourselves on a healthier paradigm that's sustainable, that honors the earth. Pluto is very much connected with the wealth of the earth. So that's a little bit to chew on, right? It's interesting. Venus is, I don't know if you've ever seen the orbit. Let me see if I just hold on a second. I'm going to pull up a picture of what it looks like when Venus and the Earth as they orbit each other. It's really beautiful. So hold on just a second. Okay, I found it. So I'm going to share my screen, and here is, let's see, hold on a second. Just a second. Okay, here we go. Here is the orbital path of Venus. Isn't that pretty? Oh, by the way, Venus rules flowers. Did you think? So that's the path of as it weaves its way around. Look at that sacred geometry, the Earth in its dance with Venus, right? And then this creates a 5-pointed star. So it's interesting to, when you think about the dance of Venus creating beauty and harmony, it literally makes that path in the heavens. And so that is, of course, reflected on Earth. Now, when Venus is in its evening star phase now, so when it goes into the Cazimi in the underworld, it's going to emerge out heliacal rising and become the morning star. So this is a pattern of life and nature, right? The cycles of time. So evening star, she's known as Venus Hesperus. And then when she comes out and becomes a morning star, she's known as Venus Lucifer. So obviously Lucifer, like I know, oh, scary, but it's, if you look at the Latin etymological root, it's light bearer. So she is the morning star, she's bearing light. So when Venus is in at the evening star phase, it tends to be, you know, she tends to be more laid back. It's more yin and, you know, laid back and cozy, right? And when it goes into the morning star phase, that's more yang energy. So, and we never think of Venus as that, but, you know, that's when she becomes this, you know, like really mofo, this badass mofo, right? So let me show you what that looks like. Here is, right, so we were looking at that, and now if you were to draw you can draw the Venus pentacle, the 5-pointed star, and wow, look at that, 5-pointed. The pentagon, right? Five-sided, there it is. So anybody that tells you Venus does not have a shadow side as the god of war is full of it, right? We can just see it in our own in our own government. And when you think too about the U.S. Air, like the Air Force, you know how you have the Air Force on the star on the side of military airplanes. It's a 5-pointed star. There it is again. You know, the symbol of our Air Force, like this big old blue star. So really something to think about. So anyway, let me get back to our show. So that is that basic talk about, you know, where we're going with all that. Now, also, when you think about Venus, there's this pattern of time. So it's an 8-year, the last time Venus was in Capricorn was 8 years ago, and then 8 years before that. So if you look back in your life, so that would have been about late 2013, early 2014, and think about what was going on in your life in terms of people, connections, relationships, and then where it is in your chart. Then before that, it was 2005 to 2006. So you just go back every 8-year increments and it'll give you a sense of themes that are going to come up. What I'll do at the end is we'll do our trip through the zodiac. I know you guys love that. So, and where this powerful Venus retrograde will occur, reshaping our values and our relationship to our values and our relationship to our loved ones and such, where this will occur in your chart. So, and I would like to say too that in the mundane world, I think really truly we could be seeing a real change in leadership, not just the fact that, you know, standing up for women and all, but I think also when I think about like the Queen of England, you know, I honestly think that, and you can see it in the news, she was very sick, she's ailing, she wasn't able to go to the conference, the climate conference, and you see this energy, this kind of waning energy of like everything that she symbolized and represented for so many decades. That is an old paradigm, and that is waning, and the new paradigm of female leadership is on the rise in a new way, free of the toxic elements of the past. So, you know, when I came of age, I remember women's liberation and women entering the workforce and wanting to be treated as men or with the same respect and for intelligence and such. So I remember in the late 70s and early 80s, women dressed like men, suits and you know, jackets and everything was very, you know, squared shoulders, you know, to step into that. So the power of women was still in this guise of this patriarchal, male-oriented, you know, archetype. But now, of course, we've shed that. But I feel with this Venus retrograde, we're going to come to a new place with all that. We're burning off old patriarchal energies. And so I feel that certainly, and I've talked about Kamala Harris before, as we see, you know, wherever you stand, this is not a political conversation I'm having of yay or nay, Democrat or Republican. I'm just simply saying that here she is in the news. There's been a lot of criticism of her and a lot of power conversations on either side and both sides going back and forth about her. But we may be seeing her stepping into a different position of power or leadership, or the way in which that all plays out could be undergoing a very intense, transformative experience. Every time you have Pluto, it's not easy, right? We all know Pluto transits are not a walk in the park. They make Saturn transits look like a walk in the park, which we know they're not. But anyway, just wanted to mention that. So it's like goodbye to the old patriarchal traditional ways of do it because this is the way it's been done. You know, that attitude. And it's like hello to the new, that we can invent our society in a way that works. That's not, yes, honoring the past and traditions, but not based on the toxic past. So indigenous traditions stepping to the fore. I see we just named a Native American, and I apologize, I don't have the name on top of my head, but there was the first Native American that was nominated in this administration to head the land management, the Federal Office of Land Management. And, you know, they had such a scarred history with genocide, Native American genocide, and chasing them off their land. So it's really interesting karma, right? That now a Native American is heading up this federal agency. So that's one example. I also see with the money system too, I think we could be seeing some powerful dramatic changes in are the base, right? If you think about Capricorn, Saturn rules Capricorn, the very structure of our society. You know, the Biden administration's name of their plan is Build Back Better. I mean, you can't get more Pluto and Cap and Saturn and Aquarius than that, right? Build Back Better, there it is. So we could be seeing a lot of that really coming up very intensely and very cathartically and transformatively in the weeks and months to come. The huge government restructuring makes you a little scared sometimes. You know, you've seen a few of the chains being rattled about, oh, we could be running out of money with the government budget. And it's like, yeah, Venus retrograde, conjunct Pluto, everything's coming up for renewal and review. So it's not just us in our own lives, but we see this reflected in the at large, you know, society at large. I would say too, our taste, you know, Venus is art and talent and taste. So this is a great time to, if you thought about exploring your creativity or your sensuality or your femininity, if, you know, if you're a woman or you identify as a woman, or just that nurturing artistic part of yourself, whatever gender you identify as, this is a really powerful opportunity to go deep. And this, again, this theme will be playing out in the eclipses with Venus North Node. Eclipses are going to be carrying this message, and it's going to resonate for the next year and a half. So our self-worth and our talents and all are really coming to the fore. Our resources, it's the end of resources as we've known them, the old traditional structures, the supply chain and all. This is all Venus-Pluto conversation. And on a high note, I'll just have, let's just put in a little humor in here, right? It can be a little scary with these money conversations, right? Everybody's like, oh my God, comfort and security, Venus, right? I must have my weekly manicures, you know, and Uranus and Taurus is saying, yeah, maybe you don't. So, right. But anyway, I have to say, I was looking for something the other day online and I see this ad and I just thought I have to bring this up on the podcast. This is an ad I'm going to show you. And I thought, okay, this is so Venus retrograde. Like maybe we need to re-look at what we find tasteful. And so I bring you this. Okay, are we ready? All right, so here's our beautiful Venus star pattern, right? But what I want to show you is this. This is the ad that I saw. You ever see these things? These like kitschy little, it's Christmas and it's the nativity and it was puppy dog nativities, like Jesus is a dog and Mary is a dog and Joseph and the three kings are dogs. I mean, I'm like, okay, this is not really. Can we revisit our tastes? Can anybody listening out there? And I have to say too, I think about those, so the ships that are the cargo ships, serious problems sitting out there in, you know, at the docks and the ports, and how there's not enough people to get the things off the ships and the supply chain. You know, you've been reading all about that. And I think, my goodness, if you go to a dollar store, you see all this junk and, you know, most of it's made from China. So I think, gosh, you know, how much of those ships sitting there in harbors are like full of this stuff? Like, I'm sure, I mean, look, let's face it, stuff like this, it's all made in China. And so you're using like, what kind of carbon footprint? These are conversations that come up. Carbon footprint for, we're gonna ship this kitschy art halfway across the world, and for what, you know? And then you're using so much fuel, and then there's the manpower conversations. It's like, can we just strip down to what's essential? You know, North Node, South Node, and Venus and Scorpio. Do we really need all this? So, but I just had to chuckle. I mean, look, let's just have a look at this, okay? So you got Mother Mary, and here, this is Joseph. He is a Bernese something other mountain dog. And then they got the three kings, and you know, here's Mary is, I looked like a fox to me, but I'm like, what kind of, I looked it up. Mary is a collie. Oh, well, she, you know, she's got a little hood. And then I'm like, baby Jesus, I thought he was a Rottweiler. I'm like, this looks like a Rottweiler. How could Jesus be a Rottweiler? Oh my God, like this is insanity, right? No, actually, he's a Yorkie. I want to put everybody at ease. But and then okay, now like this guy, here's my favorite. This is a dachshund, is one of the three kings. We'll have you know, those three kings were astrologers. Don't tell anybody. Shh. No, I resent being portrayed as a dog, you know, especially a bearing gifts. Oh, he's got this ermine cape, like that's a real king looking outfit and the crown. And then, but his bone is bigger than him. And he's giving little baby, well, Yorkie Jesus a bone that's bigger than his body. I don't know. The whole thing is so insane. I just had to show you, like, we can just laugh a little and go, okay, maybe with Venus retrograde, we want to think, do we really need all this kitschy stuff? I don't know. And with all due respect to the company that made it, I'm not tearing you down. I'm talking about the whole conversation in general about kitsch, right? We get to revisit this. So enough of that. Okay, let's go to the zodiac. We will, and the do's and don'ts. Okay, so I would say do's and don'ts for Venus retrograde, since it rules beauty. I would definitely not get any kind of permanent beauty change, like a tattoo or a facelift like that, because you may not like the results later, or you may change your mind and go, maybe this isn't really what I wanted. So not recommended. Venus is about connection, social connection. This is not the time to have a party. I know it's unfortunate. Christmas, hey, Venus retrograde. Well, as we're already seeing with the Omicron variant, you know, it's obviously not very conducive for get-togethers. So we'll have to invent new ways to party and connect that are, you know, because it's Venus retrograde. Getting married, obviously, with Venus being retrograde, the marriage planet retrograde, is not a good thing, unless you were like, oh, I met, you know, this man and I'm reconnecting with him, and the marriage that we were supposed to have, but we were, you know, you hear those stories like somebody was separated as teenagers, and then they find themselves in a nursing home and they're like 78 years old. And they're like, oh, we're going to get married like that we always wanted to do in 1945. You know, like that might be a Venus retrograde story, but in general, I wouldn't recommend it. Major luxury items, since Venus rules luxury, you know, we would reconsider, do I really need that yacht? Do I need that Porsche? Well, if you do need it, think it over for the next 2 months and then decide. Any kind of expensive designer fashion, you know, those beauty products, beauty procedures, all of those things are very Venus-y. So the do's and don'ts, right? Just revisit those things. They're going to revisit you whether you want them or not. Certainly a good time in transformation to really consider our worth and where have we had hidden fears around expressing our worth in the marketplace. Definitely a great, this is like a powerful conversation to be taking with us as we start the new year. Okay, a week through, a trip through the zodiac. So if we have, we will start with, let's go to our, oh, you know what? I can show you the screen of, here it is, for the chart for Washington, D.C., the Venus retrograde, as we can see here, conjunction with Pluto. It'll be in the city of Washington. It's going to be in the second house, and actually in the USA chart, it's also in the second house of money, banks, power, you know, the power elite. We're having a redo of that conversation very, very loudly. And so if you are a Sag rising, this Venus retrograde will be happening in your second house of money and resources, your own resources, talents. What is important to you? What do you value? Yourself, others, you know, do you rely on your esteem? Is it dictated by others, like authority figures or the status quo? You know, that will definitely come up for you. And the eighth house, it's opposing the eighth house. So your worth versus others, how others see you, your self-worth. Okay, if you have, let me move this to the hours. And if you have, ding, ding, ding. Okay, if you have a Capricorn rising, this will be in your first house, which will be your self-image, your physical health, your body, you know, maybe some health challenges, First house can be illness. So I would say in general for everybody, Venus is about the adrenals and the kidneys. So with a conjunction of Pluto, detox your kidneys, people. Let's not load up on, too many sweets. Let's be sensible here and try to bring that under control. I know it's Christmas, but I would say everything regarding with Pluto, detoxing, cleansing, purifying on a physical level, and really getting those adrenals up. Your adrenals, your first line of defense for a healthy body. So enough said. That'll really be loud for the Cap risings, right? And your self-image, how you show yourself to the world will definitely be a conversation for this Venus retrograde. Okay, if you have Aquarius rising, Venus retrograde will be in your 12th house. Not an easy house. That is where you might be revisiting and really looking deeply around where you feel like you're like you have a lack of agency, where this might be a place where you're revisiting yourself, like you're going in that Venus cave, right? Like being like the hermit and really thinking deeply around these areas where you feel you have no agency around your self-worth. Say maybe addictive patterns and deep conversations around your, maybe unconscious processes that take place that you're not aware of. You might say that stuff that you've brought in from other lifetimes, that might pop up. But certainly it's a very mystical house. So that would be a really good house, if you have Aquarius rising, where you might be getting downloads from ancestors. So there's always a good, there's the shadow, the shadow can be bringing, like the mud in the lotus springs from the mud, right? From these difficult situations, you can ascertain something very positive. Okay, for Pisces rising, this is going to be in your 11th house, Venus retrograde in your 11th, which is your colleagues, friends, groups, group consciousness, group organizations, one's professional peers. All of these things are going to undergo a rehaul. Maybe you'll find that the people and friends that you hang out with are toxic, and you need to do some deep cleaning around the area of friends. So that will be in the 11th house. So we'll just move it forward. If you have Aries rising, this will be in the angular 10th house. So that first house is Sag and Aries. So these are the angle, 1st, 10th, 7th, and 4th are very, when a planet in like Venus in a cardinal sign in an angular house, that's a very fundamental change, a fundamental shift. And that in this case, it would be regarding your career and your service, your public reputation could get a redo. What you bring to the world, how you're seen in the world. Okay, if you have Taurus rising, of course, Libra and Tauruses and Libra risings and Taurus risings, this is a very profound transit, because Venus is the ruler of your chart, or in the case of the sun, if you're Taurus sun or a Libra sun, Venus rules your sun, your life path. So this is a fundamental looking at. And for you Taurus risings, this will be occurring in your 9th house, which is faith, religion, spirituality, higher wisdom. It could also rule courts and justice, things of that nature, philosophy, yoga, philosophy, esoteric wisdom, foreign travel, it could be, right? Rethinking our plans for foreign travel and foreign cultures, things outside of us like that. So that's the 9th house. And then as we move forward, Gemini rising, this will be in your 8th house, which is called the idle place in ancient astrology. And so it's a place where symbolically the sun is heading to start setting. So it's a place of letting go, and it's a place where it's death and rebirth and regeneration. And so again, it's a money house. It rules other people's monies. So this would be a conversation. Maybe you would find, let's say you were thinking about a business deal or partnership with somebody, you might discover during this time period some secret agreements and things that weren't unknown to you, or just not kosher. You know, Pluto on the dark side could be criminality. There could be some like criminal underhandedness with some kind of an agreement, or an agreement that you didn't know about, or, you know, the understanding, especially Mercury there too, right? So that's another a possible scenario. So it's just, but again, from that deep unknowing or letting go of survival patterns around these topics of one's self-worth, there is some new ground broken. Okay, then we have Cancer. For Cancers, Cancer Sun or Cancer Rising, this will occur in your 7th house of marriage, marriage and partnerships, collaborations with others, especially one-to-one, like a counseling position. And it all could also represent like long distance, what am I trying to say? Long-term, committed long-term relationships, whether it's a marriage or a partnership or business partnerships, of things of that nature, where the rehaul will be really taking place. Then if you have Leo risings, this will occur in your 6th house. Is again, that might be a bit of a challenge. You know, that's where the joy of Mars, and in opposition with the 12th, you might find some challenges where, you know, feeling like, talk about self-worth, or the employee, like I'm doing all the work and I feel like I'm treated like a slave. You know, the 6th house was in ancient astrology was associated with slavery. So maybe those topics might come up that are bitter and painful, but definitely a time to renew. Things are given to us for a reason. It's all to evolve our consciousness. In the Virgo risings, this is going to happen in your 5th house, which is pleasure and creativity. Maybe there are some new experiences that you're ready to receive, but you just have to face your fears around being yourself. And this is also a house that rules romance and sex and pleasure. So maybe it's about feeling yourself, or giving yourself permission to explore deeper sides of your sexuality, your femininity, your sexuality, your you know, maybe things that might have been taboo subjects. You know, Pluto Venus combination can bring up that taboos, societal taboos that maybe interfere with your ability to receive and give pleasure, as well as creative projects. One's you know, ability to create and to enjoy life and have pleasurable, fun activities. It also rules one's children, or your childhood, or your children if you have children. So again, those themes can be very prevalent for you in this next couple months. Okay, then we have Libra. For Libra risings, this is going to occur in your 4th house of roots, family roots, genealogy, maybe land or parents, one's parents. That's a very big conversation. And again, with that, even if your parents have passed, the conjunction of Pluto might be where you mend some relationship from the past that had been very painful and toxic. So the universe is with you guys on this one. This is rich with opportunity, and reimagining our roots and rewriting our roots, how we want to see things. You know, the trauma from the past stops with us. We're conscious beings. You know, it doesn't have to go on. We get to rewrite this. Okay, then we have with Scorpio rising, this is going to take place in your 3rd house, which is the information axis, writing, speaking, connecting, networking, listening, learning. All of these things are right, you know, communications and the internet. You know, these are all areas of revision and renegotiation for you guys. Then we have Sag. There we are, back to Sag, the 2nd house. So yeah, I hope this has been useful for you guys. I also want to say too, and I apologize that I didn't say this sooner, but I have gift certificates. If you're interested in exploring these topics, or you know somebody that loves astrology, just shoot me an email, Irlianna at StarSoundAstrology.com. I have it below, and let me know. You know, you can get them at any denomination. But I'm apologizing because I know it's been hard. The COVID thing has been hard on all of us these last 2 years. It's just everything has felt just weird, like time suspended, and it just hasn't felt like Christmas. And it's almost overwhelming to try to, keep up with the speed of time and how things are just moving so quickly. So, I haven't gotten to even advertise them on my website, but just get me an email. I'll make a nice personalized certificate and you'll be good. You can use it for yourself, for others, as long as they're open to astrology. That's all that, and you have their birth time or they have it. We can get it done and show you exactly what's in store for you, where these changes are occurring in your chart, and what are the windows of opportunity, and what are empowering conversations can be created out of tough and difficult transits. It's one of my favorite things to do, how we empower ourselves using astrology. So that's all for now. I hope that you will have a wonderful, blessed Christmas, solstice, Kwanzaa, New Year, however you celebrate the holidays, the most high blessings and love, and go out in nature, enjoy whether it's snow or palm trees or somewhere in between, just go out there and feel one with the earth. I think the earth, especially in our Venus retrograde, would really appreciate that in the earth sign of Capricorn. And so connection with the earth, reinvent our connection with the earth, and be very, very powerful time. But whatever you do, just be safe, keep love in your heart, keep some mantras going, just go out there and shine your light. Okay, great to be with you all again, and we'll see you next time. See you very soon. This is Irlianna Samsara, StarSound Speaks, StarSoundastrology.com. Thank you all for listening. Bye for now.